Hello and welcome to No Rest for the Weekend, where we go behind the scenes and talk to the creators of independent entertainment. I'm Jason Godbey, and with me in the Rabbit Hole studio today, he is an accomplished filmmaker and the founder of Hustle Cake Productions, all the way from Los Angeles, Mr. Alex DeMarco.
Hey, thank you, Jason, for having me on, man. I'm really excited.
Thank you for coming, man.
Yeah.
You were here in town for another interview, and I'm so glad that we can make this happen.
Yes.
Really cool.
Thank you for being patient, and it's good to be in New York. You know, it's good weather right now, and it's a little different from LA. Constant sun, so get a little seasons.
Yeah, I figure, the cold will wake you up from the jet lags.
Yeah, a little bit. Like shivering myself awake.
I first became aware of you due to CineSummit online.
Mm-hmm.
So you interviewed along with Blake Farber. That's how I met Blake as well, and he's done 3 shows here. But thank you so much for coming. So I want to talk to you. We're going to talk about upcoming projects and stuff like that. But I really just want to talk to you about you first and kind of figure out, like, how did you come to filmmaking and what's your origin story, so to speak?
Firstly, it's awesome to be here. This is an awesome podcast and a platform for filmmakers to share with other filmmakers, and I absolutely love that mentality. So just to be here is awesome.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you. So I started filming things when I was a young kid, growing up outside of Philadelphia. I just had a VHS camera that was around, and I played with it and made shorts and things like that, and I just kept going with it, and I never really realized I was ever directing things, and I was just like a creative person. I would do like paintings, pictures, like whatever, putting on plays, acting classes, like things of that nature. And then it wasn't until my senior year of high school I was like filling in some like whatever filler course with video. And my first day in video, they started just explaining, the syllabus or whatever. I'm like, holy smokes, this is what I'm supposed to be doing for the rest of my life. Like, I'm supposed to be directing. This is it.
It's great when you get the bug early. Some people, everybody gets it at a different time in life. I find that a lot of filmmakers, like if you go through historically, it's like, oh yeah, I started making 8mm movies when I was a kid, or VHS camera or something. There's like an impulse. It's a some people call it's almost like an infection that goes through you and
it bites you,
and it's terminal. It stays with you for the rest of your life,
forever and ever. Whether that's a good thing or a curse, we'll find out.
So, in terms of the type of work that you're doing now, you do a lot of music video work, and are you doing longer narrative stuff as well?
So I've done 2 feature-length films. I did one while I was in college. I was 22 years old, and we raised a little bit of money, just around $8,000, to just put this thing together ourselves.
The Robert Rodriguez budget.
Yeah, the Rebel Without a Crew.
Yeah,
I read that book, and that book inspired the crap out of me. But we put this project together. We had maybe like 100 total cast and like a small crew of all full-time students, and used maybe like 60 different volunteer film locations, put this thing together, and that was our first feature film. And then I went out to LA directly after that period of time, and got hired onto another movie. This was significantly larger budget, probably around $800,000, and it was a dance movie. I'm not a dancer, but I direct a lot of music videos, and they saw these really cool, I guess, dance sequences done in more music video format. So that's kind of where I ended up kind of getting a leg up and getting that job on my first bigger budget feature film. So I've done 2 so far.
So you directed that as well?
Yeah.
And then now, so you have, you're kind of relaunching Hustle Cake at this point. And, if you look on the website, he's got a great website. He's got a lot of music on there. Do me a favor, kind of tell me how that came about, and tell me about some of the projects that you've done through that production company.
For sure. So Hustle Cake actually started while I was in college in Pittsburgh. I was doing music videos as a way to kind of like pay for my books and my food and my rent. I think my going rate at the time was like $200 to $300 for an entire music video.
Yeah.
Show up, shoot it, edit it. That hasn't really changed much. But just as in terms of how much work you put into these things and how many hats you wear. But I started doing more music videos just to kind of fund life, and I did that all the way through Pittsburgh in college, and then all the way out in LA, and continued to do it. And those clients and those budgets went from $200 to $300 budgets with first-time artists to $20, $30, $40,000 budgets with up and coming artists or established artists or things like that. From that point, I was like, okay, I need to make this more legitimate. Like, how can I take this up a notch? That's when I started an official company, Hustle Cake, which was just to house music video projects. And we would get production insurance through the company and things of that nature, things that will protect you and filmmakers from liability and whatnot. And it's not super hard to set something like this up. It really doesn't take that much research to get something like this going. And it added a lot of professionalism to me as just a music video director, because now I had a production company, and that just it adds a lot to you value-wise, and people look at you in a more serious kind of format.
It makes you more marketable as well, I think. You know, like when I started Behind the Rabbit Productions, I had people asking me, what do you need a company for? And I was like, because it's not just me. Like, and I don't want to just be me and market me. I want to say, you know, if you hire us, you get a group of people who know what they're doing and, you know, have systems in place to do this stuff. So you just seem like it's more professional. And, you know, I think everyone has this fear too, like when they're hiring a video company or if they're trying to, you know, it's like, well, what have they done? And there's an insecurity that you can hopefully alleviate by saying, you know, no, we're actually a production company. We know what we're doing, kind of thing.
Here's our website.
Right. So in terms of music videos, you work with a lot of different artists. Can you give me some highlights in terms of some of the successful ones that you've done?
Yeah, for sure. So most recently, I guess I'll just start with the major ones. I started doing music videos, producing music videos for Wiz Khalifa and Taylor Gang and all their affiliate artists. And then that kind of segued into co-directing a video for Wiz and Juicy J. And then that worked into what became Khalid and Love and Ash and Baby Ariel and Jordan Jones. These are all just random names that people might know of, but I've done music videos with them in as recent as this year or the last few years.
What was the kind of thing that separated you from other music video directors, and why do you think people wanted to work with you?
Definitely my passion, and I know it kind of could sound like a cliche thing to say, but when people are putting together these projects, they're investing a lot of money ultimately to help their artists become more appealing to, you know, their audiences or whatever. And, you know, they need a serious director. They need someone who's going to take a vision and execute it and push it all the way through. And when I speak with people and have these preliminary phone calls, I don't go into these phone calls like, you tell me what's going on and then fit me in like a puzzle piece. Like, I'm the person that gets on the phone call out of the gate and will just say, hey, this is what needs to be done. This is how I see it happening. These are all of the steps I'm going to take to execute this. This is the crew I'm going to work with. Here are talent options. Like, that's just how I come out of the gate. I know for a fact this separates me from maybe someone who might be more reserved or, again, just waiting to be plugged in, being told what to do versus just telling your clients, like, this is a direction we could go with it.
Have you ever had any issues with that approach? Do people think you're too aggressive or you're trying to take too much control of the project? Or have you found them like sort of be relieved that they actually have somebody who knows what they're doing? I don't know. Maybe you've got a mixture,
for
but
sure.
Really,
yeah, the latter for sure. You can't do it in a disrespectful way. And if someone's like trying to talk on the phone or it's a conference call or whatever, like, obviously keep your mouth shut and listen to what's going on. Like, don't overstep. You got to be careful. There's definitely like a way to be professionally assertive, and then there's just a way to be a total jerk. And you got to know the difference between those, like night and day, and don't ever cross over into the other side, not once. And I don't cross over. I don't find myself in those situations, no.
I think on CineSummit you talked about developing treatments and things like that. So I remember seeing that and thinking, wow, that's a really great presentation.
Yeah.
Like, I'm assuming too, like when you're doing these treatment, a treatment is basically a summary of the project,
right? And
you're giving people visual references. You're talking about the plot or the vision that you have for the concept and stuff, but that's all stuff that you don't get paid for, right? So you most of the time you're starting out doing a lot of prep and a lot of work just to get the job,
right? I feel like there's a big misconception with or a misassumption with doing things that don't necessarily pay you, like a treatment, for example. I put in a ton of time pitch these things on spec. What that would mean to somebody is that I'm doing this for free, and essentially I don't see it that way. What I see is that I'm being paid indirectly, or that payment for doing that treatment is deferred. Whereas I make this, okay, recently I did a couple treatments for Eminem, and I was really excited about those, and I put everything I could into those. I absolutely love Eminem. He's a big influence of mine. And I think I spent like 2 days on each treatment, and I didn't hear back from either of them, and just the way it goes, I just didn't get those projects. But at any point when I was doing those beginning, middle, or end, I just had really convinced myself that, okay, if this happens, like, this did pay me. It paid me in a big way. I'm going to get a rate for doing this project. People are going to see this project, and I'm going to get other projects and budgets from it. So this thing will pay me indirectly, maybe in multiple ways.
And so. I think that some people sometimes miss that.
Yeah.
And if you're a writer and you don't have any credits, don't expect anyone to pay you for a script until you have something to show them.
Yeah.
And you do a lot of pitching in this business, whether it's a commercial gig or a music video or a feature or whatever. Richard LeMay, when he was here, he directed Dementia 13, which was a feature for Universal. He went into that meeting with storyboards. He went in with that, with a full, and of course, he didn't even have the job yet, but he had to say, "Hey, this is why you hire me."
Yeah.
And it makes everybody feel better. Like they're investing in you essentially, and if you can prove that, great, because they go, "Oh, this guy knows what he's doing." We can, and also you can help them see it on paper. I think I've mentioned even like Ralph McQuarrie, who is the guy who made those beautiful paintings for George Lucas of Star Wars. Star Wars doesn't get made without those proof of concept drawings to say, hey, this is what the world is going to be like, So I took, from your talk on Cinema Summit, I said, this is the way I'm doing treatments from now on, because this is great. And even doing things like lookbooks and, storyboards or whatever you have to do to get the job, it will be worth it in the end.
Yes.
Also, I don't know if you found this, but have you ever prepped for a job, not gotten that job, but used that same concept or tweaked it for another job?
Yes, 100%.
So, you already put the work in. It's a good idea. I've done that too. I've talked to people who said we want to do this music video or whatever it is, put stuff down on paper, didn't hear anything, and then wound up doing it for somebody else because, I'm not throwing away a good concept.
That's a great idea. You took time coming up with that.
Exactly. You didn't buy it. That doesn't mean, I can't use it. It's still my concept. So in addition to that, we ask a lot of people here about advice. Like, you're doing this successfully. You're making a living as a filmmaker, which is... It's not an easy thing to do. Now you're in the LA market, so I'm hoping you can bring in more LA fans of the show.
Yeah.
I don't know if they'll dig my New York style, but
guys, watch this show.
But it's it's a different market, right? I don't know if it's more or less competitive than New York, because New York is smaller. Maybe there's more people scrounging for less jobs, but do you find that? With these things that kind of set you above, is there anything when you first started out, because you started out a long time ago, even though you're a young guy, if you could go back in time and give yourself advice, what would you say to yourself? Like if Alex now could talk to young Alex, what would you say?
Yeah, I think going back and kind of, that's such an interesting question to answer, because I feel like there aren't that many things I would go back and tell myself to be like, yo, do this differently. One thing I would do differently is just be way more focused on health, like filmmaker health, because filmmakers wear way too many hats. And as the competition increases all around, because you have YouTube and gear is cheaper, and to make professional stuff is cheaper and more accessible, but the competition is growing up on YouTube now, and YouTube tutorials and things like that. So I think it's really just don't be overwhelmed by things and learning how to check yourself and your expectations. Because as a young filmmaker, you put on loads of expectations, like I need to be this by this age, or I need to be Damien Chazelle winning an Oscar at 32. Shout out to Damien. But that's like a super rare instance. So maybe going back and telling my younger self, don't put so much like pressure on yourself to like be a thing by any point in time. Let that drive you, yes, but don't let that land you in the hospital.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I was making my first film, I was like the same age as Orson Welles, and I was attempting to make my Citizen Kane, you know, because, you know, he had made that movie before he was 25, and, you know, I was like, man, if I don't make a feature film by the time I'm 27, you know,
right,
which is insane.
Right,
it's insane to put this stuff on yourself. And you're right, we do. And I know a lot of guys, because they're doing 15 different jobs a week, you know, you can really beat the crap out of yourself.
Big time.
And have zero work-life balance.
Big time.
And it's how do you manage that? Because, you know, we have to go where the work is. We have to be up for it when the work is available. Mm-hmm. And it's really hard to say no a lot of times. You know, we don't always have the luxury of things like artistic integrity,
right,
and, you know, like, I mean, my friend who has like an office job said, "Oh, I'm going on vacation for 2 weeks." And I was like, "That's a strange word. What does that mean?"
What does that mean?
I've heard of such a thing.
Vacation,
but like you get paid to go away. Like it's you know, because we don't get that. You know,
it's
most
very
of the
non-traditional.
Yeah, and you know, but it's becoming the norm for a lot of people, and I think we all have to recognize that, and there has to be more systems in place to help people in our. That's why there's like the freelancers union, and, you know, there's different, like, especially in New York City, there's different laws for like paid sick leave and stuff, even if you don't work 40 hours a week, just because, you know, it was literally killing people, and yeah, and not to, like, yes, do have ambition, do have discipline, but don't do yourself in and put so much pressure on yourself, because I think that's most of the pressure is coming from you. When you make a movie.
Exactly.
You know, you want to make this great thing, and we all want to be, you know, Orson Welles or something, but, you know, the fact is you may not have the resources. You may just, there's some gigs you're like, okay, this is going to be as good as it gets, you know. This is what they're paying for.
Yeah,
and
you got to rock those out.
Yeah, and, you know, do the best you can, but, you know, if it doesn't look like, you know, a Hollywood film at the end, you didn't have the resources to do it. You can't kick yourself for it. You know, there's only so much you can do.
No question.
Anyway, so I want to. I know that you have some stuff upcoming. So, in terms of what you see yourself doing, because we were talking a little bit before the show, what's the next for you, and what projects do you have upcoming? Is there anything that you want to plug that's coming up or anything like that?
Well, at this current point in time, I'm working on a music video for the band Slightly Stupid, which I grew up listening to a little bit in the 90s. They were awesome. They're like a big jam band, ska music meets alternative rock. I don't even really know how to properly describe them, but they're very close with the guys from Sublime, like similar music sounds. And the music video that I'm doing for them is pretty unique because it's like not in any way, shape, or form like a comeback album or a video for them. It's just these guys have been touring every year, both internationally and nationally, for like 25 years or something like crazy like that. And this music video is all about them spending all of these years on the road together and kind of like touching back to them growing up and touring together, and I have all of this found footage of them.
Oh, so you know, like a documentary type vibe to it. That sounds really cool.
Fusion. I don't know how else really to explain it, but
that sounds awesome.
That's one thing I'm kind of chucking away at this present moment. But
and then, do you see yourself eventually? You want to do features or television and things like that?
Yeah, no question. So my goal for 2019 is to launch my production company, where I'll be basically helming and developing narrative feature films and pilots. It's something that I've been pretty much saving up to do my whole life. Those 2 features that I did already, they were big learning experiences for me. The first one I made at 22, the second one I made at 23.
Wow.
And they were just you can only really take in so much, I feel like, at those ages, and you really need to like hammer out your 20s in film and everything before you can get to a point where you're like, all right, I feel like I know enough to like do it properly,
just to be comfortable on the set,
right?
You know, working with a crew and a full cast, and just to have enough gravitas and experience to, you know, so people go, oh, that's the director. And you know, like, you don't have to be all seeing and all knowing, but it's good to have that. And now you've shot so many things that you feel comfortable doing that, and you're not like the kid,
Right.
you know.
I'm not the kid director, and I don't have as many questions. I feel like I've filled in the blanks with life experience.
That's important. That's really important. I think that's another thing. Like you were talking about, you know, putting the pressure on yourself at an early age. You don't have the life experience
Right.
to be able to do that. You don't have enough. It's like, you know, most young actors suck because they don't have any life. They don't have any, like, they haven't been through it, and they're trying to, you know, it's like you're trying to, and when you're telling stories, like if you haven't lived your own story, it's really hard to tell somebody else's, because you have to be able to relate to it on a human level, and just, you know, get the emotional impact of it and figure out, yeah, this is how these people would act, because when this happened to me, you know, like you can relate your own life experience. And when you're 22, you have no life. I mean,
Right.
it's like when you're a teenager, everything is a tragedy because
Right.
nothing's happened to you yet. You know, it's like when you're 16
You
and
have 16 of known years of your existence.
right, when you're 16 or 17 and that girl breaks up with you or whatever, it's devastating because that's never happened to you before.
Right.
You know, by the time you're 27 or 37, it's a whole different ball game. You know,
It's borderline the norm.
right? You've been through it before, and I think that's something that a lot of beginning filmmakers don't give themselves the time to do. I mean, you can grow up pretty quick in this industry. Like, obviously you did. You directed a feature at 22. That's insane.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I was doing things at 22 that was also insane.
Yeah.
You know, but
Just not on the screen.
yeah, no. I mean, well, back then that's another story. But I was directing plays and stuff. You know, I was directing like full-length plays when I was
that
like
is way
21,
cool.
22, and working with actors who had been acting longer than I'd been alive.
Yeah.
And
That's pretty neat.
And somehow having the gumption to think that I knew what the hell
Were
I
you
was doing.
nervous when you were working with, like, directing
I was
actors
too
twice your age?
Dumb to be nervous, man.
That's pretty interesting.
I had the one good thing about being young and stupid is that you're not smart enough to realize what you don't know. And you have that, you know, it's like the confidence that comes with ignorance. It's because, you know, like when you're directing your first film, you're probably the same way. Oh, I know what I'm doing.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah, you know, and then it's not really until you're in the weeds and you get into it that you're like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know what I'm doing.
That type of confidence definitely gets you through those projects, like, no question. And whether it's blind confidence, like, whatever, you're executing something, and then you can take from all of that learning, hands-on learning experience, and apply it to things down the road that you really want to be serious and take your time with, versus not doing those things and constantly second-guessing yourself, like, should I make this short? Should I make this feature? Should I hit my friends up and just put this thing together this summer? Like, the question is, yeah, do it. But I feel like as we get older, we're able to know more, learn more, whatever, and we give ourselves more excuses not to do these things. So it's interesting looking back now at 29, I did this feature at 22 and then another feature at 23, and I'm like, yeah, a little bit of blind confidence for sure, but I'm glad I kind of had that.
Yeah, because, you know, if you didn't, you'd probably just be a nervous wreck and you wouldn't be able to do anything. It would,
100%.
But, you know, and I bet you look back at those films now and you think, oh, I could have done this better.
Without question.
I mean, I look at my first film and, you know, it ain't on the resume no
Yeah.
more. It's, you know, but you look at it and you go, okay, you know,
Anything.
like, there's so many things that I would do, but, you know, you're a different person. So, and hopefully by the, you know, from the time you're 22 to the time you're 32 is a huge learning curve, you know.
Big time.
You know, so you were like a different person between those ages, and, you know, you do need this. And I think there's a battle now between like the DIY generation of like, I got to get this done now,
Right.
versus I want to get this done right.
Right.
And you kind of have to pick
Very
your
good
battles
point. Yeah.
in terms of like, well, you know, I probably shouldn't start this full-length TV series because I'm not going to have the resources to really carry it through.
To
but,
like really do it.
But let me put it on paper and pitch it to somebody and see if they believe in it and see if they want to, you know, pay for it. And you see if it has legs, and then you start developing a business plan for your projects and not just making stuff.
Right.
You know, but, you know, when you're young, the thing is like, yeah, you got to make stuff. You know, it's so depends on what stage of life that you're at. And I think you're getting to that point where you're maturing, where you're going, okay, this is stuff I can make, this is stuff I should make, this is what I get paid for.
Yep.
And then here's the long-term stuff that hopefully I can work toward. And we all go through that. We all go through each one of those levels, and hopefully you get to the next step, and that's part of what this show is about, is hopefully helping people to get to the next step.
Yep.
But I got to wrap up, man. But thank you so much. Before I do, where can people find you on the web?
Yeah, cool. Find me on the web at alexdemarco.com or follow me on Instagram at alex_demarco. DIMARCO. And Jason, thank you for having me on, man. This has been awesome. And
thank you for coming, man. This has been great, and so glad we could be a part of your New York experience.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm already starting to get cold, man. I'm trying to get back to this California weather.
Got to get you invested in some sweaters, bro. Next time you come out. Anyway, thanks for coming, and thank you for taking this trip down the rabbit hole. For more episodes of No Rest of the Weekend, you can always find them on our website, btrp.nyc. You can also listen to us on all the major podcast channels, including Anchor, iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, Spotify. We're everywhere. We appreciate you listening, and thanks so much. Once again, I'd like to thank my guest, Alex DeMarco, and for Behind the Rabbit Productions, I'm Jason Godbey. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.